Well, I have a lot to say. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to General Hospital Envy, my GH after show. It has been a crazily interesting week, both on screen and behind the scenes of General Hospital, and I have a lot to say about it. After this drink of water. First, let's talk about the stories on GH. Before I talk about the week as a whole, I want to talk about the Ava-centric episode because it was a standalone episode and it seems fair to kind of bring it up first before everything else. First of all, there was a lot of mixed reactions to the episode. There was the side that was saying a character like Ava Jerome shouldn't deserve a standalone episode, and then there were some that really enjoyed the episode. My opinion, I enjoyed the episode for what it was. I'm not Ava's biggest fan, but I do love Maura West as an actress, so I was okay with it. I love these kind of episodes just because from a soap viewer, it's kind of fun to watch these actors get to do something different for a day. Basically, the episode was about Ava having her surgery and dealing with her past and her, discretions, and it was a Wongo dream, that's for sure. There were two major surprises in that episode. The first surprise, I found out during the previews of the previous episode that Morgan Corinthos came back alive and well, except for one hand. Kudos to the writers and the producers for keeping that one a secret because we've all wanted Morgan back for so long. The second surprise is something that I did not know until I physically watched the episode, is that Megan Ward, original Kate Howard Connie Falconeri, came back as original Kate Howard Connie Falconeri. Full disclosure, I did not enjoy Kelly Sullivan's portrayal of Kate Howard Connie. I personally loved Megan Ward, and it's not to say that Kelly Sullivan was bad at her job, just the stories that they told while she was playing the character were just god-awful. The DID thing, I never want to see a DID story on this soap again, okay? It was horribly cheesy and I don't know, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It made me lose all my love for the character, and that's why I was so glad to see Megan Ward come back as Kate for this episode. My mom and I watched the episode, and she didn't know who that was. She knew Kelly's Connie, but she didn't know Megan Ward's Kate. So I was freaking screaming and jumping in and out of my seat. She was just looking at me like I was a crazy person, but listen, I loved her to bits. Now throughout this dream sequence, Ava was seeing a woman kind of running around Port Charles, and she seemed to know her, but not really. By the end of that episode, we discovered that that woman is Avery, a grown-up Avery, and I was like, wow, Sorass really got to her. Good casting though, she really looked like Kiki and Ava. I thought that everyone that acted in this episode did a really good job at being creepier versions of themselves. I did think that the episode was kind of edited really weird, so it was a bit distracting at times, but I could handle it. My only fault to the episode is that there was no real change in Ava at the end. This could have been her moment to sort of step back and be like, I need to let go of what I have done and, be okay with myself again, but I also need to take myself out of the equation and stop, rubbing it in people's faces. This was the opportunity for Ava to have her Scrooge moment where she was just a totally changed person, but she was still being kind of a dick to Sunny when she went to the restaurant. I mean, really, she didn't have to go to the restaurant to celebrate her new face. Let's go to Charlie's Pub like everyone else. Okay, so now let's talk about the rest of the week. We had some pretty cute scenes between Kim and Oscar and Jocelyn and Carly, each mother giving their kid the sex talk. The previous week, Carly had found condoms in her bag, and it turns out that it wasn't for Jocelyn and Oscar, and I know that seems like an excuse kids would use, and it typically is, but they were for real, just holding them for Trina, who was seeing a guy who was a senior, and I guess she didn't want her mom finding condoms, so that's why, and that was much to Carly's relief, obviously. But Carly did overhear Jocelyn mentioning that the night of the dance is going to be wild and, out of your mind amazing. And it turns out that this has to do with the bully that Oscar's friend is facing. Nope, not even that was a lie. Oscar was not talking about himself. So it turns out in their school, there is a transgendered friend of theirs who wanted to wear a dress for the dance, and the school was against it, so Jocelyn and Oscar are planning to throw their own dance. I'm not sure where they're planning on throwing it, but details. They're having their own dance where people can kind of dress as they want to and be themselves, and that's pretty admirable in my opinion. I know that there's a lot of controversy surrounding transgendered community, and I'm just, I'm at the point where I'm like, let people be who they want to be. That's how I see it. If it's not hurting you, then back off. I think people should just wear whatever makes them feel good. I have to give kudos for GH for being bold enough to take on a controversial subject like that. Just another thing to praise the writers for. As much as I've been praising the writers lately, I do have to kind of bring something up with this next story that I'm going to talk about, Michael and Nell discover that Michael is in fact the father of her baby, which is not really a surprise to anyone because, like, who else? So Michael has accepted this, and he had a talk with Jason because he is so worried. He's never been a father before. And I'm like, Avery? Sabrina's child? Like, did that just go out the window? You had custody of Avery for the first few months of her life, and you also had custody of Sabrina's baby for the first few months of his life. So what? I feel like they're kind of erasing the history of Michael and everything that went down with AJ, and like, just, he hasn't mentioned Sabrina ever. So that kind of annoyed me a little bit. You're better than this, writers. I've seen it the past few months. Alright, now let's talk about the trials and tribulations of Caesar Faison, who's in Port Charles at this very moment. Well, the back of his head is, not the actor, but the back of his head with the crazy hair, that's here. He is lurking. He's definitely read the article that Nathan is his son, and he was shown, like, scribbling Maxie's face out and, like, slashing it. We were treated to some pretty hilarious scenes between Anna and Obrecht. She showed up to Anna's house drunk out of her mind and worried about what Faison was gonna do to Nathan. We learned that Dr. Obrecht did know that Faison had a second son. His name is like Henrik or something. Anna left Obrecht to stay put at her house and sleep off the drunkenness, and went to Sunny to tell him like what she knows and kind of trade notes, I guess. But Obrecht's not gonna listen. She leaves the house and gets knocked out by Faison himself. What happens next? Who knows? Just bring on the actor already though. I'm ready for the storyline to begin. Okay, now I want to talk about a story that, if you guys have been watching GHMV, you know that I have loved it since it began. However, it appears that this storyline is coming to a really abrupt and annoying end. So as you know, Laura and Ned have been going against each other to become the mayor of Port Charles, and this week Laura gets a call from Spencer saying that he has broken both of his legs and she suddenly needs to be out of Port Charles for 6 weeks. She has to drop out of the mayoral election. And you know what? I can't even blame the writers for this one, because it was very evident that this was not where the storyline was supposed to go at all. This definitely screamed last second rewrite. And the first thing I thought was, okay, maybe Genie Francis had a family emergency and had to leave for a bit. And then the next day we get the news that Genie Francis has been dropped to reoccurring. And boy, am I freaking livid. Pretty much since the first time Genie came back as Laura, she has like an amazing front burner storyline. The writers seemed all in with it. There was character history, there was 2 veterans facing off against each other. There was a storyline involving a lot of great characters, and whoever, Frank Valentini or the execs, drop her. And apparently the producers didn't tell the writers about this, so they had to clearly switch up the storyline out of nowhere. I think the writers have been doing a great job with the show. They are utilizing the cast in a great way. They are telling really good storylines. They are having really good, even like little moments between characters that we haven't seen in a year. Unfortunately, they have to work around stupid decisions like letting an icon like Genie Francis go. There are some rumblings going around that they only want her to be in a handful of episodes per year, and I'm like, where is the logic? GH, you have capable writers right now that are doing the show so good with the characters that they have. But unfortunately, they had to work around your stupid decisions. I am like, oh, I could rant about this for like an hour, you guys. Listen, in all full disclosure, I got home this morning at 8:30 in the morning. I had no sleep, but you bet your ass I was gonna make this video because I just needed to get it off my chest. I am shooting this video quite late because I just had no energy left in me, but like I needed to do this. I needed to say it. I've said it. I want to know your thoughts on Genie Francis's exit or bump to reoccurring. Like, hello, you got the character that was one half of a couple that saved the show from cancellation in a storyline that is amazing, and this is what you do? I'm done. I mean, I'm still gonna watch, obviously, which, you know, but I'm gonna fight for Genie. You bet your ass I'm gonna fight for her. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the decision to let Genie go. Are you as steamed as I am? Do you care? Just let me know. I want to know your opinions. On that note, I will catch you guys next week, hopefully in a much better mood. Peace out.